Hi, I'm Danny.
And this is We Talk Anime.
So today we wanted to talk about some of our perceptions of Japan and some of the cultural things that we've picked up, that we think we've picked up on from different anime that we've watched and all of that kind of thing. So some of these might be correct, some of these might be horribly wrong. Let us know if we're on the mark or not.
Yeah, and I feel like some of these might be the way it used to be, like a more traditional way, and it's just idealized in anime, and maybe that's not your typical modern, Japan anymore. So, but we don't know because we haven't been there or lived there. So.
Yep. So we have a couple of talking points for each, and then we'll have a little discussion on what each of them are. So I guess I'll start, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like we should start with, the biggest one that we both picked up on, which is kind of this, spiritual world.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That seems to me one of the biggest things that I picked up on when I first started watching anime that seemed different to me than, American culture. And just the idea of, the spiritual world. So, spirits, demons, gods, little g gods. Gods are in everything. The forest has gods, and that seems very prevalent through not only anime, but a lot of Studio Ghibli movies, for example, are, that's all over. Miyazaki has that all over his movies. And so that was something really interesting to me to learn about, and I actually really enjoy that aspect, and some of my favorite anime have that as a big deal in it. And watching more and more and learning more and more, realizing that comes from, or it seems like it comes from, the Shinto religion. So. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting how in anime that it's kind of one of those things that's just kind of commonly accepted. Be like, oh, demons. Yep.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah.
That's a thing that I guess one of the perceptions would be that people commonly believe something like that.
And that demons aren't necessarily bad and evil.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been watching Demon Slayer lately, and and what's interesting in that is that the demons are evil, but they always try to humanize them when they die, something like that. It's this person, became a demon and they had this past and stuff, but they were evil, but then they're trying to redeem the character, I guess, a little bit.
The Devil is a Part-Timer.
No, I haven't. It sounds interesting.
It's so funny. Or Blue Exorcist, that's another one where it's kind of a devil demon main character, but very humanized, and they have good and bad. They do good things and bad things, but that's just what a demon is. Some are very purely evil, but other it's kind of just a normal
kind of walk
person.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's interesting too is that there's so many shrines.
Yeah.
In Japan, or at least in anime, there seems to be a lot of shrines, and there's a lot of people that go there and do the whole festival thing and do the whole.
You have a local shrine.
Do the shrine thing.
Do the shrine
thing. I don't know how to say it, but yeah. But I guess the other question with that is that is that more just a traditional thing that you do because it's cultural, and it's hey, this is who I am culturally as part of my identity, and then whether or not I personally actually believe in these things is a different thing. And I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, because it seems it shows up all these shoujos and stuff that run a couple seasons or whatever. There seems to always be the New Year's Eve episode,
the events,
and they go to a shrine, and that's what they do, and they might wear their normal street clothes, or they'll wear they'll dress up in their traditional garb, and
you get the fortunes.
Yeah.
You get your New Year's fortunes and stuff.
Or write your wish on a paper, and then you tie it to a tree or whatever they have there, and you go to the temple and either do the clap and bow and ring the bell, or sometimes there's it's holy water. I don't know what it's actually called, but the water thing, and respecting ancestors, or I think the shrines usually have the god of that shrine. It's a there's a certain patron god for that specific shrine.
Yep.
I think is how it works.
That
So
sounds familiar to at least from what I've
yeah, so
seen.
like if
Yeah.
it's like a god of luck or something, like you're praying for good luck for the year, or god
Mhm.
of this or that, and
Mhm.
so, but it does seem like that's just like, okay, we do that on this holiday. That's not something we go out all the time and do. It's just like this
Mhm.
traditional thing that we do,
Mhm.
like we go
Yeah.
chop down a tree for Christmas or something, like, but it's
Yeah,
not
as
like,
something that we kind of culturally do
yeah,
as a
but maybe,
Americans.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it
Mhm.
seems like maybe your everyday modern Japanese person, like maybe that's not like a deep core belief, but it's more of a tradition that they still like to
Uphold.
respect and uphold, but maybe
Mhm.
not like a true belief system.
Mhm.
So that's kind of interesting
To talk about
see,
and to. Mhm.
and it could be like a generational thing that's kind of like fading out. Like maybe grandparents, are still very like that's very important to them, but maybe the millennials or whatever were like,
Mhm.
it's like
Their
kind of
kids and their
nice
kids' kids.
we like going
Mhm.
to the festival, it's fun, but we don't really believe that.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
So it's
Yep.
kind of interesting, but it's fun to learn about that through anime. So,
Yeah, to kind of experience it and
yeah.
see it acted out, or
Yeah.
acted out essentially,
Yeah.
and then then the question is what is that like in real life?
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
But I do feel like one thing also attached to that with like, I think respecting elders is probably, it seems like still a big thing, which is kind of connected to all of that.
Huh.
Because I mean, like, that's even
Mhm.
part of their language, where
Mhm.
they have the different honorifics like that tag to the end of the name, whatever status they are in relation to you.
And I
Is
wonder.
what you call them, and we don't really have that. Like, other than people in the South, say sir and ma'am more often, but
Yeah.
it's not like a widely accepted cultural thing
Mm-mm.
where it's like,
And I wonder
you're
if
my teacher, you're my senpai, or you're
or your sensei. Yeah.
sensei, or sama for someone just older that you need to respect.
Mhm. And I wonder too if that means that if it's, I don't know how to say this, if it's easier for the respective elders to live in the culture partially because the language exists. So
Mhm.
even though times are changing and culture is changing, since the language itself isn't changing as much or as quickly, if that's going to persist in the culture longer. Yeah, if that makes sense.
So what are some other ones you have?
Yeah, well, okay, so talking about demons and stuff. One of the ones that I kind of wanted to talk about is like population extremes. So some of the things in anime that I've seen is like anything with a city, like certain magical index, Academia City, super densely populated. Anything with Tokyo, super densely populated. But then you flip over and you watch something like Your Name, and it's like they're in just this tiny little town, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and they're complaining about it's like this is just a tiny town and everybody knows everybody, and I want to get out.
Yeah.
So Japan, I think I looked this up recently. They have like 130 million people, which is like a third of the United States' population, and but area-wise, it's about like California and Oregon. So there's like a lot of people packed into a small area, and I guess it's interesting.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah,
Size.
it's like a third of the country packed
So
into
big.
like, I don't know, a tenth of the United States, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to see and to think about like the differences in populations. Like Tokyo and Kyoto and Osaka might be like super densely populated, but then if you get out and you go up to Hokkaido or you go up to some of these other prefectures, it's like, is there anybody there?
Yeah.
Is there like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I wonder what the culture differences look like and stuff, because I think Japan also is dialectually diverse.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you were from Tokyo and then you went up to Hokkaido,
Yeah.
you should be able to hypothetically tell,
Yeah.
because
That's something I've also picked up in anime, because we can't pick it up necessarily, because the translation, they try to do stuff to hint towards it, but it's hard to really,
kind of
translate.
pick that up.
But like a character might be like, "Oh, you must be from blah blah blah," you know, with the way you're talking, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's interesting too.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to think like what that really looks like, and how much of, I guess, an influence that has very often. I don't know. This kind of segues a little bit into the other one that I wanted to talk about, which was just traveling. At least, and this may be less to do with anime. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I kind of wonder if traveling distance in Japan is like super expensive. And I guess the kind of the reason and the analogy to that is that I've lived in Washington State my whole life, but I haven't been to every part of even the state. So, and it's like relatively cheap and pretty accessible to drive around and to get around within Washington State and within the the continental U.S. So it's not hard to get around places. But in Japan, I wonder if like cost is a big kind of constraining factor in keeping people in tight areas. Again, might lead to more of those kind of experiences like, oh, a person from Tokyo is out in the middle of Hokkaido and be like, oh, what are you doing out here?
I should ask my dad. He's traveled.
Has he traveled a lot in Japan?
Well, not a lot, but the last trip they went on, like, I have family there spread out a little bit, so like they tried to hit different spots. So I'm curious, like, but I mean, they have like so many trains, but I guess it's just like their train system seems pretty awesome, but
yeah.
What's
I don't know.
considered expensive?
What's considered
like,
expensive? Do people travel around a whole bunch, or is it mostly just like foreigners? Like, you can get the Great Rail passes if you're a foreigner, but I don't know. I don't know. There's another other thoughts, other questions, many questions.
So many. So another really random one that I had, which I feel like there's so many. There's always something like every time I watch anime, I'm like, oh yeah, that's something that I always see in anime, and it's like a cultural thing I didn't know about, and along with like all these episodes in every show having like a New Year's episode where they go to a festival. And these are specifically usually like shoujos and stuff that take place in a high school or whatever. So hot springs and bathhouses, like there seems to be always like one token episode where the class goes on a trip or something, and there's a hot springs, or they go to a bathhouse, and it's always the big deal of like, okay, you got the girl's side and the guy's side, and there's like the little peeping Tom hole or whatever, and all the guys are like, what's happening over there? You know,
so true,
so ridiculous. So that's just like something that after watching a lot of anime, I saw that happen a lot, and everybody has a different way of doing it, but like that's not really something that I think of us having. I mean, there's hot spring resorts and stuff around, of course, but not like that's a big thing that everybody does.
Yep. Yeah, we have a couple hot springs in the U.S., but it's not like they're everywhere. And it's certainly not everywhere to the point where it's like a cultural staple.
Right.
It's like,
that's like a usual like
public
trip
bathing
that people go on.
Yep, public bathing isn't a thing.
Yeah.
Going to, like, you might go to a spa.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But then, in all likelihood, even if you do go to a spa, it's not going to be like a natural hot spring, something like that. It'll be all put in specifically for that spa, and it's going to be all, I don't want to say artificial, but just all man-made and made for that area.
And I've also heard they really like really hot baths, like hotter than a hot tub, kind of like bathhouse. That's a thing. But yeah, and so there again, it's like, is that still a normal thing that people go out and do? Is that still, is that a normal school trip, or is that like more an idealistic, perfect world school trip, but isn't actually that realistic anymore? I don't know. But it seems like every anime that takes place in a high school
has like an obligatory yep.
That or the going to the beach.
Yep. Yeah, there's either an obligatory beach episode or there's an obligatory like onsen trip or something. Yep. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say so switching up a little bit. So one of the other things that's a little bit like and kind of in the onsen, kind of just like an outdoorsy thing, I've watched so many anime and they always have like the buzzing sound in the background and they always then show like the cicadas.
Yeah.
Are just like cicadas a huge thing in Japan?
Especially in like the summer. I feel like that indicates like it's summertime when you hear that.
Yeah, if they have like a season change, it'll be like winter and then you'll be like, oh, buzzing and bugs and it's like, oh no, now it's summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hot too. I guess that's the other thing that always kind of happens along with those is like you see cicadas and then you see people just like in sweltering heat and just absolutely miserable. I don't know. I guess I wonder too if AC is super common. Then like, do people have AC in their homes?
I feel like I see it in like the houses in anime, like the
box, like the little wall AC
like
units
on the wall, not necessarily integrated, but just like a box unit like up on the ceiling or something.
Yeah, that's interesting because I guess when you have such hot summers, you would want AC, but again, if you
I think summers get really hot in Japan.
It may not be. Yeah, I don't know. Is AC a thing? Hopefully, AC is a thing.
I'm sure it is. We're not used to it because we live in Seattle, but
well, it doesn't normally get hot here because we're right by the ocean, right by the sound, so we have such temperate weather all through the year. We might have like a couple weeks of it being hot, but I mean, it's not hot enough to justify having AC in the house, so a lot of us just don't have it for that reason.
Yeah. So my last one is kind of a random funny one, and it has to do with people like getting drunk or drinking after work.
Yeah.
And so in anime, they always show the characters after they've been drinking with like super red cheeks, right? And I started watching anime when I was like 10 or 11. I was like, okay, I guess this is how they like indicate that they've been drinking a lot, but I didn't really get it. And then I learned about Asian flush. And that, like, because a lot of people, they don't get a red face when they have a drink or two.
Yep.
But then when I started drinking alcohol, I started getting it because I am part Japanese. And I was like, oh, Asian flush. I get it.
There's a duality to the animation.
I thought it was just like, oh, that was a way for them to animate that they've been drinking a lot or something. But it's like, no, that's a thing. Your face like actually gets flushed red, like literally after one drink. And a lot of Asian people know that. I was like, man, it's a thing. And I'm like only a quarter Japanese, but I still get it.
I wonder. I mean, that must be to like every person. You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know. I wonder because I wonder if like different. It must be like different tolerances for that or.
Well, it has to do
like,
with
maybe?
An enzyme that like a lot of Asian people are like missing or have a really low amount of a specific enzyme that breaks down alcohol.
But is that like for everybody, or is that just like, or like, is it like, it's probably like a spectrum, right? Some people maybe have a little bit more of it, and some people have maybe a little bit less.
But honestly, like all of my friends that have it, like, are pretty much the same like level. Like you literally have a cocktail or a glass of wine or half a glass of wine, and you get the flush.
Oh man.
So
Yep.
I always wear makeup when I drink.
That's amazing.
Life tip.
Life tip. Well, I think those were at least some of our. I think we have a lot. I think we have a lot more, but
just things we've learned about the culture through anime and the differences between what we're used to and learning about them and.
If we got some of them right, let us know. If we got some of them horribly wrong, I guess let us know too and tell us, because we're always interested in like learning about more things and hearing about different cultures. It's always kind of a fun experience to hear cross culturally all the different things.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see you in the next one.
Yep. Have a good one. Bye.